Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Jehovah's Witnesses, I have a question from your own literature. What is Armageddon? Without Watchtower's teaching or interpretation of Armageddon. Because when I learned about Armageddon by Jehovah's Witnesses, I was not able to understand the book of Revelation. Because by Jehovah's Witnesses teaching, Armageddon comes first, then you got your 1,000 years, and you got your paradise, or something like that. But actually, Armageddon is after the 1,000 years, not before. So, in this brother's talk, he's going to make the witnesses thinking that they will be the only sole survivors of Armageddon. They don't need to pick up arms to protect themselves because their God Jehovah is going to save them. Well, sadly mistaken, a name on a piece of paper or on the jw.org website cannot save them. Because even their governing body said the name Jehovah was not God's name. It's nowhere near the original name. And it was Raymondus Montina, 1270 AD, who invented the name Jehovah, and he spelled with an I because there was no letter J. So, Jehovah's Witnesses, how can Jehovah save you if that's not even God's name? So let's continue with this guy trying to make Jehovah's Witnesses look good in the audience that Jehovah is going to save you. All you had to do is just obey, trust, put faith in this name.
Really illustrates what is about to happen to Satan's world. Revelation chapter 17, verses 16 and 17 indicate that Jehovah God is going to cause the militarized members of the United Nations to turn upon false religion, to devastate her, completely destroy her. Yes, like the Edomites from Mount Seir, false religion is going to be completely crushed out of existence. But there really was
all religions can be crushed and destroyed in Armageddon. No. It actually probably be crushed before Armageddon. Before Armageddon. Because Armageddon is after the 1,000 years. Not before the 1,000 years. Jehovah's Witnesses, read the Bible. Before the 1,000 years. And after the 1,000 years is Armageddon, the final battle.
the end of the verse where I left off there, was it? Let's see what continues in where I left off there in verse 23. Because the slaughter continues without Israel's having to fight. It says, and when they finished with the inhabitants of Seir, they helped to destroy one another. But when Judah came to the watchtower of the wilderness and looked toward the crowd, there they saw their carcasses fallen to the ground. There were no survivors. Similarly, when Jehovah's time for execution of judgment arrives on this system, Jesus is going to go forth and destroy all the remaining parts of Satan's world. And at that time,
Jesus is going to come and destroy the parts of the world. So are you saying, Jehovah's Witnesses, Are you saying that you're welcome when Christ comes? He's going to destroy you because you fell to get out of Watchtower's false teaching? You fell to understand the truth behind our videos, our information we put out there on the internet of truth about your lies you're teaching to people, trying to bring people into this false hope, false religion, and one of the dangerous cults in the world.
It is almost undoubtedly going to happen that the nations will strike at each other, just as Ammon and Moab did. Now, verse 26 tells us that after this, the nation again praised Jehovah. And when we survey the results of Armageddon, we are going to similarly praise Jehovah for another grand victory. This account proves that God is able to defeat his enemies without his servants having to fight. And this is the pattern for us at Armageddon. We can be confident of this fact for one more reason, and that's in the book of Revelation. Only the armies in heaven, yes, only angelic forces, are pictured as sharing in the fighting with Jesus. But just because we're not going to have to fight doesn't mean it's time for us to relax. No, we have to follow instructions when we receive them, just as those Israelites did. And we have instructions from Jehovah right now, telling us what he wants us to do. Now, those Jews back then, could they have reasoned, we don't need to go out with the nation, do I? They're all going. I mean, I have a lot to do. I have a family or a farm or a business. You know, they were like us. They probably had a lot of things going on. They could have thought, I'm just one person. We're not even going to fight. They don't need me. By the way, I'm really, really busy. No, they were told to go out as a nation. They had to obey. They were told to take that position and stand still. That command required just as much obedience as if they had been told to fight. Yet, their example of faith and obedience is the example for us. So ask yourself these questions, because this is where we're going to start asking ourselves a lot of questions we could think about today and later. When the Great Tribulation and Armageddon arrives, will I too follow instructions given? How about this? When I see the wicked being destroyed, will I be tempted to vent feelings of vengeance for past injustices? In order to answer that question, we probably want to think about how we react now when we see injustice. Do we leave matters in Jehovah's hands? Many people do not.
So in other words, if someone in the Kingdom Hall molested your child or raped your daughter, we shouldn't call the police. We shouldn't put vengeance upon this brother or sister for the damage they have done. Plus, to leave it in Jehovah's hands. Leave it in Jehovah's hands. So that's basically what they're trying to brainwash Jehovah's Witnesses. Just leave everything to Jehovah. How can Jehovah put out his vengeance against a child molester in the Kingdom Halls? You may say, you're a liar. We have no child molesters. Well, then you don't know about the Australia Commission, Jeffrey Jackson and a bunch of elders in Australia in court about pedophiles in the congregations. Don't believe me? Go to Jakke Control. Watch it yourself. Because you are living in a fantasy world, Jehovah's Witnesses. I know. I was in it. And I'm glad I spend most of my time out of it till my conscience and what was inside me that, ooh, I don't want to die before Armageddon, so I better return to Jehovah. And find out later on, there is no God Jehovah. There is no salvation through those 7 men. And there is no Armageddon come first before the 1,000 years. Let's continue.
In fact, we've probably even seen priests or ministers of Christendom who go out and lead protests or crusade for changes. Some speak out against the country in which they live. They rail against government policies. They may even work to oust a regime that they deem as oppressive. Some would view this as appropriate Christian behavior when it's seeking to change an unpopular law or regime. What about us, though? Are we similarly inclined? If we are, we want to take to heart the words we find in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 30. Let's make you turn to Hebrews 10. It's something we all want to remember here. Hebrews 10 and verse 30 says, "For we know the one who said, 'Vengeance is mine, I will repay,' and again, 'Jehovah will judge his people.'" So remember, we have not been appointed as the executioners. That is the position and responsibility of Jehovah. The Bible's counsel is for us to remain neutral and look to...
Let's stop right there. They are a barefaced lie. Every Jehovah's Witness is a judge and jury, and they do put punishment on people who leave the organization. They shun them. Their own fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, because they want to leave this false organization. So yes, they do judge, and they do have vengeance against their own family. And this is not what God's law is to love your family. That's the reason why they are blind, and our eyes are open. That's the reason why we can hear the truth. Their eyes are closed and their ears are deaf. Sometimes it takes something to shock to wake these people up. But gradually they're waking up. People in this background, there will be religions who will be destroyed. But Jehovah's Witnesses, all these pictures I show on here is from your organization. The destruction and the power from Christ will destroy the false religion of the Watchtower, known as Jehovah's Witnesses, will be among the false religions of the world. And the Bible says to get out of false religion. That's what I did and others. Follow us, follow the Bible, and get out of Watchtower. False teaching. Thank you.